Stories from Seoul is a point-and-click adventure game that is inspired by 1980s computer games and giant robot anime. While this is more of a detective story than it is, flying around in a giant robot fighting other giant robots, it is still a really cool setting. For the most part, I really do like the story. The game has a really great setting, the characters are pretty awesome, and I enjoy most of the places this story is going to take you. I thought I had it figured out at the end, but then it went in a direction I wasn't really expecting. At the beginning, we get a little backstory that kind of explains the events that have really taken place in this world. The Earth colonized the solar system, Mars and some of the moons of Jupiter rebelled against them. So you have these two factions. Mars is on its own, and then the moons of Jupiter are on their own. You are following a soldier who happened to be from the moons of Jupiter. And these two team up, defeat Earth, and then they kind of all go their separate ways, but there's still tension between the three groups. Your character, who doesn't have a name, you pretty much just make one up for yourself. They were a pilot at really the last battle that was going to take place between the three sides. You are part of this mech group. Your kind of system malfunctions, so you don't get to really join the last battle, which is a good thing because your squad pretty much gets wiped out. And from there, you go your own way. You end up becoming a security officer. There is one other surviving pilot who just happens to get stationed on the same ship that you're on. Your girlfriend transfers you to that ship, so that's how you end up on the Gundog. You go around and you meet the different people in the crew. It's not a very big ship, so you don't have to do a whole lot of exploring. It's kind of a cool story. I do like it. It's got some interesting things to it. So you go out on this mission, and you're supposed to rendezvous with another ship. Something happens where, like, an alien does something, and it takes out both of your ships. You don't really find out what weapon they really use, but clearly they're able to disable your ships. From there, it's kind of your typical, point-and-click adventure thing. You need to figure out what happened, and then you need to explore your ship and figure out how to get the power back online to save everybody's life. And you check on the different people to make sure they're all okay. It's kind of what you would expect. Once you get everything back online, then you go over and you examine the other ship. And that's when you get kind of the rest of the plot. There's some aliens involved, and yeah, then you have to kind of deal with that. There's a mutiny on board, and that's pretty much the plot. You can go in a few different directions, and then, the story sort of wraps up. I am not going to talk about the ending that much. I'll do that at the end of the video. It's okay. I'm not sure if there are multiple endings, because I just did one playthrough and then wrote the script up, so there might be a few other options. I can see from the Steam achievements that, I've got more things that I could do in this game, so that might lead to a different ending or maybe more of the story. The gameplay is pretty simple. There are a few spots where you need to remember what a character had said previously in order to advance the plot. Most of the gameplay is just dialogue options. There are a few spots where you need to make like a quick time decision, is the best way I can put it. You need to select a dialogue option within like 3 to 5 seconds. It's a lot of time, so you have plenty of time to just go through and figure out what you want to say and how you want to move the story forward. It's kind of a cool way to do things. There are also some really simple puzzles like you're seeing up on the screen where you need to direct the flow of electricity. I only really encountered 2 of them. There are probably more, but these are the only 2 that I really saw. Then you need to go around, collect keys and different items in order to unlock doors. This gets really cool after there's kind of like a mutiny on board, and you can decide whether you want to join the mutiny or kind of work against them. and then you need to collect some key cards in order to get into things. Or when you're inspecting the other ship, you need to go around and inspect the bodies in order to get all of the keys that you need in order to find different stuff. It's kind of a cool way of doing things, and it reminds me of a lot of point-and-click adventures from the 1980s. It's pretty nice. It's not overly complicated, but it's a pretty fun way of doing things. I did think the gameplay was pretty good. It's very simple, and it lets you just focus on the story, which is really what these point-and-click adventures and also visual novels are kind of more interested in doing now than they were back in the 1980s. It's nice. I don't think there's a way to lose this game, or at least I never encountered it, so you don't need to worry about restarting from a different spot. The game does have an autosave feature, so you never have to worry about, what's going on. You can just save the game at any time, quit, and then come back to it later. The graphics are pretty good. It kind of reminds me of the really old game Metal Marines, and I know that's a really deep cut, but just the characters remind me of that game. They've got the same anime art style to it, and then the presentation of the game is very similar, where you have all the actions that you can take on the side panel. Granted, that game's a real-time strategy game, and this is, a point-and-click adventure, so not the same genre, but it's still the same kind of presentation that you would see. There are 3 graphical settings in this. 2 of them look like a Game Boy or Apple II graphics, where everything kind of looks like it's got pea soup poured over it. I stuck with the 3rd setting because I did not want to have to look at that the entire time I played this. But hey, it's just a personal preference. If you want to look at that, go right ahead. The animations and the character reactions are great. When you need to use an item, the little item icon will flash, so you know, hey, this is what you need to do. There's a lot of cues just to help you get through this. It's a very easy game. Everything is set up for you to just advance the plot, even though you can get a little bit lost in some of it. There were times where I didn't know exactly what I should be clicking on and then just moved my mouse all over the screen in order to find something that would light up. So that was kind of nice, but yeah, there were a few moments where I think something could have been done to help me out a little bit more. Everything in the game does look really good. I didn't have any issues with just the way the graphics were or anything like that. I don't think the visuals really impact the gameplay, which is always something that helps out. It's just a nice looking game. I like the anime art style. I like just the overall presentation of it. It's pretty good to look at. I think this is a pretty good point-and-click adventure game. The story, the setting, and the characters are all great. The gameplay isn't something that I like all that much, but it's not like a detriment to you actually following the story or anything like that. It is a very linear game, so if you're expecting or hoping for something that's going to branch out, this really doesn't do that. I would like to know if there are alternate endings to this game, so I'm probably going to go through it again just to kind of do something different. I also want to see if there's like a New Game Plus where you can change your actions or something like that, especially given the ending and how you're kind of presented with this really wild concept, especially with the ending that I got. It is very much like one of these space anime endings where just all of a sudden there are aliens and now you need to fight them as well. It's kind of cool, and it leaves everything open for a sequel, which is always nice. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.